tornado outbreak will soon be impacting the southern United States, bringing the threat for violent tornadoes, large to very large hail, and even significant damaging winds. So in this video, we're going to be breaking down everything that you need to know about this system, and also some of the lies that are being told about it. So let's go ahead and jump right into things, starting off by taking a look at today's Storm Prediction Center outlook. We have a marginal risk of severe weather down into sections of extreme southern Florida and the Florida Keys. This is actually driven by a 2% tornado risk, and earlier today, we actually had a very strong, currently high-end EF2 tornado rip through portions of central Florida, causing significant damage and even destroying some homes. So prayers for all that are involved in that situation. However, the likelihood that we see a tornado at this point of the day later on is going to be quite low. So moving on to tomorrow, we don't have any threats for severe weather across the United States, but as we go into Wednesday, we are going to be seeing a system that is a bit of a precursor to our big-time outbreak that we're expecting this weekend. This is on Wednesday here. Once again, a marginal risk of severe weather for sections of the south central United States, back into sections of the southern plains, and personally, I think that this could actually be a tornado bringer, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Again, it doesn't actually look like this is going to be nearly as significant as our storm this weekend, which, if we take a look at things here, we can see already has a day 5 and a day 6 enhanced risk of severe weather associated with it. Now, recently, the Storm Prediction Center has been throwing out, these day 4 onward enhanced risks, and they've been some big-time bust events. However, I don't think that that is going to be the case this time, and the reason being is going to come later in the video. But what you should take away from this is not the exact zone, not the exact risk. The only thing that you should take away from this is if you are in those colors, you have a chance at seeing some severe weather. This is Saturday's outlook, and this is Sunday's outlook. Now, I know I'm going to get the question in the comments over and over again, what do you think this will be at day 1? Do I think it'll be a moderate risk, a high risk? And personally, I think that we are far too out to personally, at least for me anyway, say what we are going to have in terms of a max risk. However, I will say if trends continue like they have been on the models, it is certainly possible that we do get an upgrade to a moderate or a high risk. We will just have to wait and see, especially storm mode will determine a lot. Now, taking a look at the amount of CAPE for this event, the main ingredient that fuels severe thunderstorms, if you're not aware, we can see that on Saturday here, we are actually going to have quite a bit of CAPE down here into sections of Dixie Alley. It kind of grows there throughout the day, and eventually by 18Z on Saturday, we actually do have nearly 3,000 joules per kilogram of CAPE across sections of southeastern Louisiana, and then a good swath of CAPE also expanding through sections of Mississippi and Alabama, and then it grows even further throughout the day. By 21Z here, we're dealing anywhere from 2,500 to 3,000 joules per kilogram of CAPE across sections of southern Louisiana and southern Mississippi. Again, 2,000 joules per kilogram of CAPE all the way up there towards portions of central Mississippi like Jackson. And you'll also notice that CAPE values skyrocket even into sections of the Ohio Valley and parts of Appalachia here. If we take a look at things, we can see that we've got around 1,500 joules per kilogram of CAPE across sections of the eastern Ohio Valley and northern Appalachia. So that is going to be fueling some storms up there, but the bigger factor for this region will be wind shear, and we'll kind of talk about that later. But again, this will continue to grow as we go into Sunday here, so we'll just have to keep an eye out on this event. Again, at the time of filming, the 18Z GFS is currently just now coming in, but it does look like we are going to have more than enough CAPE per se to fuel some of these severe thunderstorms. So now taking a look over at the dew points for this event, this is obviously going to be a big factor in how things play out here. So if we take a look at things, we can see that we're going to have dew points in the low to mid 60s as early as 6Z on Saturday morning that would be. And as we go throughout the day, obviously those are going to continue to get higher and higher, and eventually dew points get into the 70s according to the GFS model across sections of southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and southern Alabama. They stay in the mid to high 60s through most of those states as well, and even stay into the low to mid 50s across sections of the Ohio Valley. So again, definitely going to be enough moisture here, at least in Dixie Alley, to fuel some of these severe storms and tornadoes. And as we go into Sunday here, things will get nearly as concerning, however, not quite as much. Again, the main event on Sunday here will be for sections of Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. However, at the time of filming, the 18Z GFS has not currently loaded in for that event, but I'm sure by the time this video is posted, and by the time you're watching this especially, it will have been. So, taking a look here at the bulk shear at the 500 millibar level, video on the GFS once again. Again, guys, things are bound to change here. We are going to see major forecast changes as this event is still 5 to 6 days out. But as of right now, it does look like we could have a pretty significant amount of shear there impacting sections of Dixie Alley, which is, again, the main thing that you're going to need when fueling severe storms outside of Cape. Again, we could have shear of 80 knots or higher all the way from sections of the Ohio Valley back down into areas in Dixie Alley. And eventually, by the time we get to the afternoon time hours on Saturday, that will continue to increase. We're talking about 90 to 100 knots of shear right now across sections of Dixie Alley back into portions of the Ohio Valley and southern New England. So, again, you've really got to be on the lookout here for this event. Again, things are going to change, but as of right now, things look quite intense, and things peak at around 100 knots of shear, even closer to 110, 120 knots of shear back into sections of Illinois and Indiana. But again, things will change, so don't expect this to be the final forecast for these areas. So we are now going to take a look at a sounding for this event. So before we do this, you should keep in mind, again, 123 hours out. Things are going to change, and by the time that we get to the actual event, this may not be at all what a sounding looks like from this area. This was pulled from southwestern Mississippi. As you can see, we've got a crazy-looking photograph there showing a lot of instability and a pretty good wind profile. We've got the possible hazard type there at PDS Tornado, Storm Slinky turn at 74 degrees. That's a really classic textbook Storm Slinky. The effective layer STP is at about a 5, which for a signal this far out is not what you want to see. We can see that on the analogs here, we've got quite a few supercell matchups as well as hail matchups. It's saying that based off of the analogs that we have from events similar to this, we could see hail up to tennis ball size. We've got nearly 300 SRH, which could definitely be better, but it's still going to be enough to fuel some severe storms. Effective layer shear is close to 60 knots. Shear up in the cloud layer is going to be at about 85 knots, and then we've got 75 3 Cape, which is definitely enough to fuel some severe storms and tornadoes. Really impressive lapse rates, I must say. It's not every day that you see lapse rates from 7 to 7.5 Celsius per kilometer. Again, a significant drop off of the dew points there as we get into the higher levels of the atmosphere, which could bring a potential large hail threat with this system as well. Now again, for this event, we're talking about two main modes of storms, one of which will be impacting sections of Dixie Alley, and the other will be hitting portions of the Midwest. So this is a sounding grab from central Iowa here. This is giving us a much more tame kind of sounding, but again, still definitely showing some signs of a severe weather potential. As we can see, we've got dews into the mid-50s. We've also got 3 Cape at 57, effective layer shears at about 41 knots. We've got ourselves a pretty nice drop-off in dew points there, which will be indicative a potential hail threat. Again, the hail analogs here showing maybe some half-dollar-sized hail being possible in an environment like this. So again, while this is not nearly as potent as our southern mode of storms, it is certainly possible that we could see some severe weather still back into sections of the Midwest. So next up, we're going to be taking a look at the watches, warnings, and advisories across the country right now. At the moment, we've actually got a pretty significant fire danger across the central and northern plains. All those pink boxes there, those are your red flag warnings. Those dark brown boxes are your high wind warnings. So again, if you're in this area, try to avoid burning if at all possible here today, and really just over the next few days in general. We do have some winter storm warnings back into California for the higher elevations, seeing some heavy snowfall, and then we've got some wind advisories left into sections of eastern Florida, but other than that, pretty calm right now. Before we end off this video, I do want to note there have been a lot of comparisons to the March 31st, 2023 tornado outbreak to this setup here, and I just want to put your guys' worries about that to rest. People are comparing it because of the jet stream, the dip in it, and everything like that. The moisture content for March 31st, 2023 was so much more intense than this weekend's event that we really don't even have to worry about anything near March 31st intensity happening. March 31st had dew points into the low 60s all the way back up near Wisconsin, while this event can barely get those in an area like Arkansas. So again, you really don't need to be worried about this being some sort of super outbreak or anything like that, and anybody that tells you that you should be is wrong. So finally, before we end off this video, I'd like to quickly thank all of our channel members. You guys are the best. If you'd like to become a channel member, make sure to do so by clicking the link down in the description. You get access to exclusive videos, early forecasts, and stuff like that. So anyway, that's all I've got for you guys today. So thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.